What if the best ideas you've ever had are already in your notes, hidden somewhere, just waiting for AI to surface them? We don't want to sound like everyone else because people are looking up to us for specific reasons. And that's what makes us unique. And that's what we need to continue to fight for. And it is our responsibility to make sure our content has us on it, even though it may be enhanced by AI.
When I look at it, I go, AI didn't write that for me. It helped me make it a lot better than it took what was in my head and the visual that I see it being and put it out there for me.
Hello, everyone. We are at a real turning point where companies write algorithms, governments write law, and someone has to write the human story. And this is what this space is and will be about. What if the best ideas you've ever had are already in your notes, hidden somewhere, just waiting for AI to surface them? Welcome to the Human Protocol, the podcast about staying human while building the future with AI. I am your host, Mykel Salomon. We talk about AI, leadership, and humanity, not in theory, but in how they shape our everyday lives. Today, I'm joined by my friend, Coach Andrew Rios, a global customer experience and support operations leader with more than 25 years of experience leading teams from scrappy startups to Fortune 100 giants like Cisco and Fitbit. Known for his coaching-first leadership style, Coach Rios has built and scaled world-class customer support operations, implemented global strategies, and mentor leaders at every level to drive both customer delight and business value. Beyond the office, he's a runner, advisor, a speaker, and a proud youth coach for his son's soccer and football teams, bringing that same energy, and I can attest to that, and passion to the sidelines as he does to the workplace. Please welcome Coach Rios. Welcome to the Human Protocol.
Oh, Mykel, thank you for having me. Oh man, God, thank you for those nice words. I really appreciate it. Glad to be here. Really looking forward to this conversation.
Awesome. Perfect. Today, we're going to be exploring how AI can unlock the ideas we didn't know we had and what that means for the future of content, coaching, and conscious leadership. To kick things off, my friend, I would like to ask you something I ask every guest on the show, which is when we remove the LinkedIn bio, this bio that I just talked to right now when I introduce you, everything that maybe ChatGPT knows about Coach Rios. Who is Coach Rios at his core?
At the core, a giver, and a door opener, a giver and a door opener, a giver of opportunity to those that I'm surrounded by, and a door opener for those in the community and for those in the world, really. And I'll give an example of that is, I think I've been blessed with some opportunities and chances and people to bet on me to grow as a leader. And I'm grateful for that. So every day, kind of every week, and every time I work with someone or a team, my team here at Cityside, I think about, how can I open a door for someone where the door may have not been open? How can I give from my experiences to make it just a little bit easier for them? Maybe get that raise a little earlier, get that promotion a little earlier, get that confidence a little earlier, get that opportunity a little earlier. And I say that too because I blend that with my youth coaching. When I see those 8, 9-year-olds right out there, I always talk to them. I'm in front of their parents. I talk to them as they're little humans and little adults, and try to prepare them for the world. As cheesy as that might sound, a giver and a lover of sports, So
That's beautiful. And that's where the coach come into play. When you look up to coaches, is you're looking for someone that is going to be there for you, that is going to show you the path and share with you, right? Open the doors for you So thanks for sharing that with us. Really appreciate that, my friend. Okay. Let's say when we first start talking about, hey, what would be that topic that you feel passionate about that can resonate with people based on the overall message of the podcast, and you instantly you say, listen, I think we should talk more about this, which is what is the future of content in times of AI, and how we can leverage AI to really help us with content in a way that we still keep in our voice, our brand, and we keep us being us when people read our posts and show our content and see our content. And instantly also as well for me, I say, yes, this is a very interesting topic, because the way I look more and more people leveraging AI for content, we are seeing things done right and things not done right. Basically, over relying on AI, it doesn't make you sound like you. And that's what we're trying to bring to the show today and discuss today. What are the things that you think can help us move forward, but keeping our voice? So, what are those things, Coach, that when you're looking at the state of content AI today, you think we all should be talking more about, for example?
I think it's a idea generator. And when you and I started talking about this, I was a little bit vulnerable, and it started out with, hey, I'm just starting my AI journey, I guess officially, right? I've been a long time Grammarly user. I think that was my first piece of AI that I could really say I used and started embracing and see some benefits of it. And I always tell people that's the only AI I trust. It's kind of my joke about that. Long time user. So I saw that benefit of how it made me crisper in my writing, made me think about more of what I was trying to say, and made me really take back, and it became a proofreader, right? It became a proofreader for me, and it said, "Oh, that's how I would say it, but I'm going to write it, and I want to write it this way, but I don't want to write it like we were taught in high school with all of these specific ways. I want to kind of still have my personality." So that helped me with it, and I really, really embraced that. So then, back to just recently, and when I mean recently, my friend, I'm talking about spring of this year, right? The youth sports season had ended, so I had some time on my hands, and I was working on a few things, and I wanted to kind of share some ideas out and create content, right, and think about sharing with the support community. So I decided to go back to one of my earlier LinkedIn posts from a year and a half ago that got some decent engagement, right? And when I mean decent, I mean just decent, because I'm no official creator. I just like to share my ideas. And I said, you know what? I'm going to update this, right? I'm going to update this with some thoughts from today, a year and a half later, a different perspective. And it was actually an article for job seekers, right? Some people in our network, unfortunately were impacted. And I wanted to kind of put a post out there to kind of not uplift, but say, hey, give some ideas and different ways to think about it, and kind of how I went through it. And then a year and a half later, what those ideas were. So an updated article. So I played with it for a couple of weeks. I just kept messing around with it. I said, it's still not right. It's still not right. And then finally I decided, you know what? I'm just going to load ChatGPT on my computer, and I'm going to run it through there. And I didn't even know what kind of prompt I was going to do. I just said, I'm going to try it. Um, and I went in there and I pasted, and I decided I was going to talk to it. Okay, please, this is an article from a year and a half ago. And at the bottom, I have added some updated bullets. Could you please, and I actually said that, could you please update this and make it more concise so that the message is positive and affirming for those that are just entering the transition phase of their career? Long prompt. And I hit enter, and I sat there, took a sip of my coffee and said, wow. And it kicked back first a bunch of emojis and all the things. And I kind of wiped all those out, and I said, wow, interesting. And I spent probably the next hour refining it, saying, oh, taking different pieces of it and saying, I like this. And then I started putting the coach theme into it. And I said, now put it in my voice, right? Put it in the Coach Rios voice that it started to pick up. And it started, talking about first downs and touchdowns and kind of those things. And I went to sleep. So that was kind of my process. I went to sleep on it, woke up the next morning and said, okay, I'm going to relook at that again. I'm going to relook at that again. And with a good night's sleep. And then after a couple more days of just playing with it, the prompting, the learning, I said, wow, this is how I would say it. This is an updated article. And then I posted it, right? But it was many, many, many revisions and revisions. And then I always say this too. Before that, I looked at it and I said, what's anything that's missing? That Coach Rios flair, that anything that I would add, and then I added to it. So that when I look at it, I go, AI didn't write that for me. It helped me make it a lot better than it took what was in my head and the visual that I see it being and put it out there for me. That was the start of the journey, um, and here we go, right?
It's awesome because that kind of paint a picture and show people what the starts look like, and the excitement of going through and discovering what the capabilities are, and even surprising you in a good way because what you had in your mind with the prompt, it helped you get the return that you say, wow, this is exactly what I was expecting, or this is a lot like I wanted to see, and it helps you. It helps us all to visualize things in a way that sometimes you did not even know it was possible. And that exactly what part of the message of this podcast is for people. Start small. Start going through exactly as you did. For example, get all posts of you. Ask ChatGPT or any of these other tools to review it and try to find your voice on what you're getting because the AI part of it is learning about you a lot, what
Hmm.
you like, what you don't like. So it should be keep getting better and better, basically.
And Michael, you say it's spot on. Now today it's gotten better at what I don't like. Right, those early first versions, it was really more about deleting things. I pull it out,
Mm.
drop it into a Google Doc, start editing, going, I don't like any of this, but I like this right here. Right, it was a big and I was like, yeah, that's what everybody. No, I like this. So I would take that and say, okay, we're going to build from this, and then I start talking in my language. All right, Coach Rios' playbook is the following, right, and then I would kind of run it through like that. So today it's learned that I don't like those certain things. I'll just say certain things that come back, and it's easy to build from. Makes it quicker to move on to the next one. And I say it's an idea stimulator because sometimes it will come back and all the stuff I delete, I go, that didn't hit. This did. Oh, that reminds me of, and then I'll go back to a notebook that I have in my garage because I'm a writer. I love notes. I like mind maps, and it'll pull back. I'll say, "Oh, in 2021, I talked about that here at a workshop. Let me pull that note out," and then it brings back, gives me an idea.
How can you not feel excited about this when what you just said is just beautiful because that is exactly what I'm feeling. Is an idea a stimulator, and it's like your creativity. It amplifies your creativity, and that's where every time I talk about this with anyone, family, friends, I'd say this will allow us to be more creative because before, maybe because we couldn't do it, we didn't have the skills, we were not thinking about being more creative. But now with all these AI solutions that enable us to be more creative and design for us and visualize it for us, it's really amplifying and pushing us to be more creative. And I think this is what the future will look like a lot more, us in charge of our destiny in a way that our ideas, we will be in charge of our ideas, and we will be kind of more entrepreneurs in a way because we're going to be able to build things based on what our creativity and these plus these AI solutions can enable us to do. And that's where what is key to this type of conversation. And I see it, my friend. It's a we should be getting more and more creative as we move forward.
Absolutely, and the creativity is within, buried within us sometimes. And one of the examples I give is, you know, I took a transcript from one of my earlier talks, which was a brutal talk I gave. First talk, I was giving a message, but the message was kind of lost in there. I was nervous, all the same, but I took the transcript and I dropped it
You
in.
were who was that back then? Oh my
Woo,
God, delete that.
that's a whole nother conversation. I hope that's still not floating out there. But I took the transcript because I remember the message I was trying to get across. Put the nerves aside. Put the
Right.
first time on stage aside. Put the preparedness I do now that I didn't do then, right? And I said, okay, this is a talk I gave 5 years ago. This was my first talk. Please, and I this is one of my early testing, and I would tell people this: test it. You can just test it and play with it like a video game. Please highlight any opportunities for improvement, because I use OFI, opportunity for improvement, right? I'm feeding the machine to say this is how I talk. Come back and tell me what I could have done better, and ask me questions that make me think about preparing better. That right there gave me some notes to, just as I walk around thinking, going, wow, that's interesting. I'm gonna take that next time I talk. And then it helped with polishing the message and saying, okay, now I'm gonna post this later, right, as a recap later in the year. And it's kind of set the stage to what I call create little piles of content for the future, where the idea is not necessarily polished off, but it's there. You're like, I'm going to come back to it,
Mhm.
right? And I think this is the beauty of all of the tools, is that you're able to do that, right? And then the visual aspect of it, I'm just going to get ready to start playing with it, which is, I love a good whiteboard, right? I love writing notes in my notebook and then showing people like, hey, here's the flow, the journey. But I'm horrible at building PowerPoint slides, right? So someone needs to get better at Gamma. Someone's going to start using more of these tools to bring to put that part that I'm not strong in, and that I've always had, people on my team or people in the community I can lean on and kind of go help with, partner with. That helps, and I think that's kind of some of those those assistants, those gifts that we should be taking from AI.
Yeah, nothing will replace you going through the process. That means you putting in the work. I mean, we all have to go through it, learn it, understand it, and let's see what works and what doesn't work. And no one will do that work for us. And the day that we leave the machines or a piece of code letting it do it for us, then we're going to be losing our voice and what makes us original. And especially in the world of content creation, we don't want to sound like everyone else because people are looking up to us for specific reasons, and that's what makes us unique, and that's what we need to continue to fight for. And it is our responsibility to make sure our content has us on it, even though it may be enhanced by AI. It's still Coach Rios when people read it. It's still Coach Rios in those words and those stories. Because you or I, we don't want to, sound like everybody else that maybe just copy and pasting straight from ChatGPT without looking at the response. Correct.
Exactly, because there's words, and I mean I can't think of them. I think of them throughout the chat we have, but that I don't use. The chat, it'll come back and I'll say, yeah, I don't use that word now. And I'll go back to this, and we talked about this earlier. There's you got to use the tools that are around you. What I found is kind of one of my processes is Grammarly is usually the final thing I run it through, because Grammarly over the years has learned my tone, my voice, my words as my dictionary, right? And some
Mm.
words would be quote unquote misspelled, but no, that's how I'm talking. That's how I want it. I want teamwork with the hyphen this time instead of teamwork with what, because that's how I want it right now. So that's the other thing that I say is, like, you, to your point, not losing your voice, the way you communicate, your energy, right? Your energy, your passion, the level that you communicate, right? Uh, and that's what I found, is that usually Grammarly is the last one, because it'll do that little fine tuning again. Where like, this is how you bridge sentences together. This is where he does dot 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 dot, right? So got to train it though too, and that's the one thing I learned. I guess if I go back, I probably, like I mentioned, early spring, I was just playing with it with different things. Could be like, oh well, let me let me now take this presentation and dump it in and say, give me 5 highlights from this. Like I literally started just, I would spend evenings and weekends just going, let me try this. Let me try this. And I would just title it something, beta testing this, beta testing that. And I would say, and it was an eye opener, right? It was like, interesting. You know, it would be like, take this website and give me the top reasons why I'd want to go partner with them, right? And it's like interesting, and it'd come back and give you that. Then you can start digging into it, and it give you ideas to ask another question, right? So
And it gives you ideas for you to come up with more ideas, right? As you say, it's stimulating along the way. We should be using ChatGPT and others to stimulate our creativity, because the more you ask and the more ideas and recommendations you're getting, it keeps your brain thinking and say, oh, this is right. So how can I do this then? How can I implement it? What I need to change and what's next? So it keeps you moving. At least for me, it's like you just put it there. And I feel the same way. It's stimulating my brain to continue to work. And the more I ask and the more I get output, the more I want to enhance, improve, and find out how I can continue to put out there.
absolutely, it helps. You know, it's a great helper of tone. I was helping out a fellow coach, a fellow youth coach, reply to the league about a letter he had
Hmm.
received, right? And he didn't know. His instinct was to reply with a bunch of stuff. And I was just chatting with him after the practice, and I said, "Hey, what do you want to accomplish with your reply?" You know, I just we were talking, and he was, "I want, so on, so on, and so on." I said, "Okay." So, and I shared with him a little bit of my process, and I said, "Hey, if I was you and I was in your shoes, what I would do is I would talk it into my phone, into the notes, and just talk it and get it all out, whatever it was, the question, and don't think about the order, just drop it. Then I would run it through ChatGPT, and I would add, and then I just gave him a few ideas, and I would say, and then a couple days later we chatted again, and he let me know, he had been playing with it, experimenting with it as well, but he hadn't thought about it like that. For him, it was something else. And I came back, and he goes, "It was interesting. As I was giving it more information to polish, it came back. It came back and said, uh, "You sound pretty angry here. Your tone is very combative. Would you like another version that is more? I
Tone
forget
it
the
down,
word.
coach.
Yeah,
Tone it down, basically, tell
exactly.
you. Okay.
More of you're trying to build a community. You want to build a relationship and move forward rather than." And he was like, "No, I want this." So he just kept going back and forth, and eventually it ended up in a balance where he was able to share his mind, his piece, what he wanted, ask
Hmm.
his questions. And it was funny because he told me Chat GPT told him at the end, and not feel like you're being pushed around, because it was very but it landed, because then the email that he sent was a lot better than what he would have sent 4 days previously, right after that. So you just never know when you can share that kind of advice and help somebody just that can help them, right? And I think that for me was it's a good little story that I'll tell around when I get a chance, because it's a gift.
It is definitely a gift, and thanks for sharing that. And and I also sympathize with that same sentiment that every time I talk about it or tell people how to use it, imagine having a personal assistant that have multiple skills. You name it, whatever you need, that personal assistant, which is ChatGPT or others, will help you with it. It's really something. It is amazing when you look at it. Before, you may probably were going to Google or search engine to try to find answers to what you were trying to find out, but now you have all that knowledge in one tool, that whatever your question is, it will help you with some answers and some recommendations and feedback.
No, absolutely. I think you bring up a good point there too. I think there's that potential perspective out there, right? Everybody trusts Google for the most part. At this point, you Google something, but now GPT's at the top, right? They're Gemini's serving up stuff. That
Mhm.
opposite is true, kind of. I still think with the GPTs, the Open AIs, everything kind of out there, which is don't trust it right away because you never know, right? But you can ask the questions that help you have a little more trust in it, which is, uh, and if you're doing some kind of research with it, is, and if you're going to cite something, please tell me where you're citing it from. Please tell me the book or and so that when it comes back and says people say that 96% is whatever, it will then tell you, come back, this is where I got it. So you can go look. So it's become, I don't know if we're starting to date ourselves now, but when I wrote my first paper in junior high school, it was from an encyclopedia. It was from the books that my parents bought, and I would go get information from and say, okay, then I have to cite this and learn this. And then as I went in through college, computers and all that start to come in to play, right? This is the same thing. It's just faster. You get more ways, more information, right? So it's a good tool. I like the way you called it the assistant, because that was one of the first things I mentioned to my wife, my partner Paula, when I was playing with it one night. Like, it's like an assistant. You could feed your calendar in here and say, like, and it's funny because I go back to the vulnerability part of it. I've been in technology my entire career, right? I started in broadband and DSL and VoIP and cybersecurity. I've been through all the technology changes right into SaaS, but I was a late adopter, you will say, into the GPT era. So I tell some folks, hey, Sarah out there, I just got into it. She's like, finally, Rios. And I'm like, man, it's a game changer. So, yeah, I guess I'm on the
It
bandwagon,
is.
but I'm cautious.
It is a game changer, and we all should also be cautious, and that's part of why these conversations are needed, because this is still what our humanity is really on the line, right? That's why when you went through at the beginning of the conversation through your thought process and logical steps, I liked when you mentioned that you spend time on reviewing the answers, making sure it has your voice on it, because I think it is really what gonna set you and us apart, especially when you are creating content that people still see your voice on it. And for that, you need to spend time refining, and refining to make sure that what you're getting from ChatGPT or others before you post it, it has Coach Rios intent, voice, empathy, and whatever the message you're trying to convey. So we cannot exhaust more and more that this will be as good as you want it to be, but you need to be responsible about it. And that means dedicating time to review and refine, review and refine. It cannot be just copy and paste, because if not, you're going to sound like a rest like a lot of people.
Absolutely. And I'll just kind of reiterate that too. Is some of the, you can throw in, give me 5 ideas from this post, and it'll give you 5 ideas. It will. I find that I look at those and go, oh no, I'll take that one. Okay, now let's take. Then it just gave me the idea, or something we're talking about, but it's another reminder for me. And no pun intended there. It's a reminder. Sometimes I'll get the
Mm-hmm.
prompt and I'll be reminded back to that meeting at Fitbit that changed my career, or that conversation when I was at Cisco with that director that then I didn't know how impactful it was, but the I was reminded of it by the prompt. And I think that's what's happened recently as I start to go back and look at some old notes, some old parts of my career, and the prompts come up, right? And I'll go, wow, I remember. I'm going to tell that story, right? I think that's a great, and it's funny to say that. Oh, that was a story in the making that I didn't even know, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that's also keeps the humanity part of it, right? It's like it helps you remember and not forget. So now it's in there. It's a prompt. It's a document. It's like, I'm going to talk about this later, and we mentioned that, right? Because I laugh and I tell people all the time, I probably have 1,500 notes on here of ideas that are 10% written, 20% written, 30%, 90% written, but they're just all moving, it's because of those ideas, and I just don't want it to be lost. And I'm like, I'll come back to it. I'll come back to it.
Imagine, how many untold stories are out there that this type of tool and technology should, and my hope is will help to resurface, because when you are using it more and more, you keep your memory working and more ideas will come from the past, and maybe things that in the past you didn't even think about it. And this will help us to bring more and more of those memories back on. Back to
Absolutely,
your point,
absolutely, and
that's
for
where we
other.
see also. Mhm.
Oh no, I was just gonna say so others can continue to learn from them. Kind of what I was saying earlier is like share, give back, so others can learn from those stories, from those lessons.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, because even if it's something from the past, it can teach us probably one or two things today, because there's always lesson learned in everything, in every experience, even if it happened in the past.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Also, that's also why we're seeing a lot of people kind of, you know, um, writing books today. This is also something that AI is helping a lot of us with, and bringing those memories and visualizing those memories via books, because that's what kind of AI helps a lot of people. Not only from writing the story, but also people are using AI to summarize books, for example. Give me the best of the whole book or from the chapters. So they has so many multiple use cases, my friend, that I think it's the sky's the limit basically with this.
absolutely. One question I would ask, I would ask folks out there who are thinking, God, but how can AI help me? I do this occupation, I do this occupation, or I do this, or I'm not any of the things that I've just heard, the last 30 minutes, right? I think you ask yourself is, what's that one skill that you don't have? AI can probably help you with it a little bit. Probably could. Excel, Word, writing, reading, summarizing, idea generation, marketing, those kind of things. And that's one of the conversations or questions I'll throw out to people when we kind of chat over coffee about kind of how can it help me. I'm just a customer service rep on the front line doing hotel management service.
Hmm.
Oh, but what kind of repetitive questions do you have to answer? Right? What are some challenging situations that you're in? Right? What are some conversations that you are afraid to have with guests that you don't necessarily know the words for? Right? Give it to AI. It will give you back something to start with. Right? And it becomes that partner. We talked about that assistant. I guess it's like this. It's kind of the same question I'll ask someone is, if you could have an assistant help you, a virtual assistant, what would you have them help you do? One of the early things people always say is like, well, help me manage my calendar and emails. I'm like, great. There's a tool for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is and will continue to be an assistant, and it will continue to be our thought partner, because the more you use it, kind of, it's a it goes both ways, right? It's learning from you and you're learning from it. And it will continue to help visualize and be more creative in ways that you did not know it was possible in the past. And that's where, when I start thinking more and more about this topic that we are discussing today, and what could be those kind of human protocols for reflective creativity. So, what can someone do if they are not using it today to start using AI to surface their own hidden brilliance? So, what could you tell people, and what would be those basic steps for them to follow to start kind of leveraging those brilliant moments and brilliant ideas that they may have, but it hasn't surfaced yet? What would you tell them?
Just start asking questions. I would just say, just start asking the question. Start typing the question that you're asking out loud or that's in your head. Right? I've experienced. Write it down. Write it out. I've experienced the following, and then tell the story. This is what I learned from it. uh, who could I share this with, and how could I share it with them? Boom. Because that might be what you ask a friend or a colleague, right? Who would benefit from this? There you go. 3 questions. You fed it. It's going to come back with something. It's going to come back with a demographic. It's going to come back with a summary and some bullets of what you were writing. It's going to come back with some maybe prompts. Then it's going to come back with follow-up questions. Would you like me to now? Right. And I think that's what I say, just engage in that conversation. Right. And it is a conversation, right, with the machine coming back to you based on the question. And don't be afraid to ask a follow-up question, right? And don't be afraid to tell it what you don't want it to do. For example, no, I don't like bullet number 3. I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about this bullet. And it will come back and give you that, right? That's the first thing, is just start like that. Keep it simple. And then it will go. It will take off for you. You'll start to have more ideas. You'll be it'll be like a lightning bolt that hits out. Oh, I'm gonna ask it this now. Oh, I'm gonna start by, and I said this to a job seeker the other day, and I'm like, look, because they were just, it was simple coffee, right? And they were just like, hey man, I just wanna, I think I'm just gonna pay for a resume writer. And I just asked, I said, that's an option. If you have, someone that you trust, and you have that means of income that you want to pay for that right now while you're in transition, do that. Have you ever thought about just slapping it into chat? And I usually just that phrase. Have you thought of just slapping it into GPT and seeing what it came back with? And then, and it was after a 20-minute conversation, right? This is just a little time in the community giving it to someone. It's like, hey, they were telling me about all the things they did, and what they're looking for, and then the next step. And I just said, hey, just use GPT for it. It'll help. It'll help you with the formatting. It'll help you with everything that you would pay someone else to do that doesn't know you. This will get to know you a little bit more. What you shared with me, share with the machine. It'll come back. A few weeks later, he emailed me and shared back, like, look what my resume looks like now, and I can tell this story. Right? He was more confident in it. He's like, I can tell this story. I feel confident applying for these jobs. And I'm like, awesome. So the combination of a 30-minute free chat with someone from the community, right, and technology, the tool, helped this person at least start a confident journey into transition, right? And maybe saved them a little bit of money, gave them more confidence. And what I told them afterwards was, what you got that you wouldn't have got from a resume writer was um, that confidence and that feeling now, because it's yours. Like, you wrote that, you did that, right? This isn't, you're comfortable with it. This is who you are. So, good luck. So, here's to hoping that over the next few months, he follows up, sends me a note that, he's landed his next opportunity. But that's what I would say. That's just an example.
I couldn't say it better myself. It takes one question to change the course of your life, because it really will change your life. Because once you get started on it, there's no way back. You're not going to stop asking questions. You're not going to stop letting your mind run free and start creating things yourself with the help of ChatGPT or other AI solution. And as Coach just said, it takes only one question, one prompt for you to get started on this, because the more questions you ask, the more questions that you will get. It will keep you thinking as you move along. Don't think that this is only one way. No, this is both ways. It will ask you questions back. It will keep your brain motivated. It will keep your brain thinking. It will keep you being creative, because at the end of the day, you are the one that are going to lay out what is the idea and create the idea that you want to. The tool will help you visualize it and will help you refine it. But the idea comes from you. You are the one that knows what you want to accomplish. But it really, that's all it takes to get started. One prompt, and there's no way back.
Absolutely, and you'll be thankful for it, and your community will be. And as I like to say, you'll be powered up. You'll be powering yourself up.
Yeah, you will have a superpower that you did not think you have. And maybe you did know or you do not have the skills, but this extra superpower is everything you need to make your vision and bring your vision to reality. And this is what Coach Rios is using it for. And this is what I'm using it for, what a lot of people are using it for. And I think that's what really the future will look a lot like. It's yourself and your superpowers with the help of AI for the most
Yeah.
part.
Well said. Well said. Well said.
Yep. Great stuff, my friend. Great stuff. Thanks for sharing all those insights. I think it can give people an understanding that we need to continue to create content, yes, but keeping our voice as human as ourselves, it should be kind of our priority. And for that to continue to happen, it's our responsibility to spend time refining the message that we're getting from these AI solutions until we are fully satisfied that still Coach Rios present on that message and not basically a machine for the most part.
Absolutely. Humans first. Technology powers up humans.
There you go. That's a winning combo, and that it's our responsibility to keep it that way, to keep it as our co-pilots, right? And that will take all of us continue to work together on. My friend, the next question, it's really just one question, but kind of um divided into multiple groups, um, which is really what would be your piece of advice for those individuals, human beings that haven't even started working with AI yet? They don't know anything about AI.
Ask yourself a couple of questions, maybe some thought provoking, action provoking questions. What is something you want to get better at? I want to be a better cook. So ask yourself where you'd like to improve. Okay, maybe that will help. Ask yourself something maybe you'd like to learn. Hey, I'd like to learn the following over the course of the next X amount of time. How would I go about doing that? So ask some improvement type questions, right? And that could be, for the job searching market. It could be for a presentation. I gave this presentation last year. I have to give it again this year. These are a few things that I'd like to add. Give me some ideas. Just start with where you need a little bit of help, guidance, right? Just real easy. It could be, and I think this is I think what I just said is kind of what I really, I guess, want to say is it doesn't have to be professional. Human. Keep it personal. Start personal. If that's where it is, start there first. I want to organize my summer. Here, give you one last example, I guess, my friend, is here is my sports schedule for the next 4 months. And I fed it 2 calendars. Here is the Raider schedule. Here's the Trojan schedule. And just fed it. Tell me when I can have X time to do the following. That would have taken me boards looking, calendar here, moving. It came back in 10 seconds and said the following weekends you have, and you also have these evenings. Boom.
Hmm.
Personal assistant. What would have taken me a few nights of work was literally done in an hour, right? Calendar planned out now through the rest of the year, which as father first, coach, team manager, you know, uh, friend, that was big to see. And that is sometimes a challenging thing for all of us. So start personal is what I'd ask. Start with that personal challenge first.
It makes me think a lot, and I was just paying attention to every single word that you just said, and and I see a lot of more and more self-reflection will be needed, and I hope this also help us to be more focused on our goals and what we're trying to accomplish, or at least make us think on what we are trying to accomplish, because sometimes for a lot of people they don't even plan themselves, they don't have even goals that they're trying to accomplish, and the self-reflection part of it comes, as you just put it at the beginning, with what is it that you're trying to do. And that simple question is, um, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, get started, ask questions, right? but it's not doing anything is really not an answer anymore. Um, we all should be paying attention to all this development because it's really accelerating. And what we're trying to communicate to everyone is one way or the other, people needs to learn it. Because only when you learn and spend time on it, using it the way you use it, it does not matter. And we are not asking you to be an expert in anything because we are not expert at this. We're just also going and navigating through this change and sharing with you all how we are using it and how we think it can add benefits to you and giving you ideas. But the part about is it what you're trying to accomplish is what we want to communicate to everyone. Make sure that you pay a lot more attention to what is really what I want to do with my life, and based on that, these are all the tools that are out there, and these are ideas how people are using. But one way or the other, we all should get started. So thanks for sharing that.
Thank you. Well said.
Um, yeah, another piece of advice in this time is for companies, enterprises, business navigating through AI and trying to understand if they should be implementing AI on their business or not. What would be your advice for those businesses and enterprises?
Oh, two quick pieces. I'm going to give the quick plug again. Start by taking care of the employees first, making them stronger, and tool like a Grammarly, right? Make that kind of mandatory throughout. That kind of stabilizes everything. Two, for those the enterprises, businesses, kind of outward facing, is look at those, and we say this all the time: repetitive tasks, repetitive questions that could be answered. Go to your team though for that. Engage your experienced team, your support team. Ask them so they're along that journey, right? So I guess that's my way of saying start that journey with the team, and it starts within the team. So if you're thinking about it for your customers, make sure your team can knock it out of the park first.
Yeah, that's it's the key. As we continue to focus on us human beings, there is no way that you can and you should implement or design any process without those being part of it, which are the human beings part of the team, right? Delivering the support or the services to our customers. So everything should start with communicating, understanding what is the goal, what is it that we're trying to accomplish, and what is the best way that we can leverage this team we have to implement, design, and roll it out. But always from humans to humans, from humans beings with keeping human beings in mind, for sure. Can't agree more with you on that. The third question, my friend, is now a piece of advice for those AI companies and leaders that are developing, designing AI products. What would you tell them? What would you like them to focus more on?
Oh, I mean, I'm going to be biased. It's the customer experience internally for the team, right? Focus on making it easier for the team to take care of the customer. Less swiveling, less pivoting, less looking for data. We got the data, surface the data, give it to the team, let them take care of the customers real time so that then we can do start talking about upsell and value selling down the road. But that's the key right there.
So if you're listening to this, this is what we all want as well, right? Make it easier. And that's a part of what we want any product or any solution to help us with. At the end of the day, it has to be user friendly and providing the outcomes that we want, right? Because if it's going to alleviate some of the low hanging fruits that we want and that we expect, it should do exactly that. I agree with you completely.
Absolutely.
One piece of advice for those for the government, for example, going through and navigating AI as far as regulation, what are the areas that you think governments can help us with in the whole AI conversation?
Oh, wow. That one I really don't think about too often because it's a big topic. Because it's about regulating, I guess, right? And I think that if I had to say one thing, it would be looking at it a little differently than previous technologies that had to be regulated. It has to be looked at differently. It's not the same as before. That would be my very inexperienced view at that, but my consumer view of it.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely has to be looked at from different angle and lenses, because this is totally different than any new disruptive technology that we have seen in the past. From my end, what I would like governments to pay more attention to is ways for making sure that privacy and data governance concerns are kind of standardized, right? So all these companies delivering these solutions, they pay a lot more attention to privacy and data governance a lot more. Those one of the things that I'm really looking forward to see what's going to happen on those topics in the future.
Well said. No, but that's a great uh, supplement to what I mentioned there about looking at it differently, right? Look before. Well said, Michael.
Sure. Yeah. And last but not least, um, it's your piece of advice to a younger Coach Rios. Imagine a younger Coach Rios back then, but going through this transformational period today. What would you tell that kid or that young guy today?
Wow. What would I tell him? I'm seeing him right now. I can see myself. You know what I would say is I would say don't be afraid, little Rios. This is going to help you find your voice sooner. You know, I think I found my voice later in my career, I believe, for lots of reasons. But I think that's what I would tell my younger self is don't be afraid, little Rios. This is going to help you find your voice sooner and help more people.
Beautiful. And for all those little Rios and little Mychels that are out there, this is really what we expect, right? That everyone should find eventually their voice sooner than we did, with the help of everything that we just discussed today. So thanks for sharing that, my friend. I really, really appreciate those. That was very, very insightful. So I appreciate it. And I want to, thank you for taking the time to kind of meet with us today and share your insights, right? Your humanity, your wisdom. You know that your voice in the community is one that a lot of people are looking up to. So thank you for your time today with us.
Thank you. Thank you for the gift of time. Thank you for it's been an honor. Great conversation. Just thank you. Great voice, great vision. Let's go.
Perfect. And for those of you watching us today, remember, this is the Human Protocol Podcast. If this resonated with you, please share with your friends, with your family, with your loved ones, and we'll see you next time. Thank you all. Take care.